Happy holidays. Hope you guys had a restful break. I'm Coach McAvoy with the Estrella Foothills boys basketball program, and welcome to the midseason JV B parent check-in. So we're going to cover a few things here. We're going to look at the past, or the present first, so the present situation, the past, and then the future. We're going to look at basketball's not so off-season calendar. We're going to talk about our coaching focus as it relates to player development versus team development. And then you'll have an opportunity to set up a JVB parent player coach conference. So at the present moment, we just got through the holidays where we had a varsity tournament, and JVA and JVB had workouts. Those players who showed up to those workouts will be rewarded when we resume playing in January. But as we move forward, there are a few parts to the calendar of the in-season calendar. The parts that we're going to explore are November, which is the preseason, December, which we call the first season. Holidays, there's a tournament for varsity only. In January and February is the second season, which is kind of region play. And then in February, there's playoffs for varsity only. All right, let's take a little look at the recent past. In the preseason, we have tryouts, usually that first week of November. The first round of tryouts for players that are available at that time. For players who are playing a fall sport, their tryouts are a week later if their season overlaps with our season. During this time, we are in the installation phase, putting in our offense-defense transition system. And we're also working on conditioning. Both JVs practice together, so JVA and JVB work together during this time of the year. And we have a scrimmage for the varsity typically during this time with another school. It's a varsity-only event, but we do have inter-squad scrimmages often with JVA and JVB. Then the first season begins, which is usually starting right after or around Thanksgiving. That's when we engage in non-region play. So we're playing other teams like our rivals, Buckeye and Yonker. This is when the varsity team is trying to pile up some power points with wins against non-conference opponents, non-region opponents. And JVA and JVB's focus is still just development. We try to play everybody during this early time of the season. We're still getting our feet wet with the guys and getting them used to the rigors of the season. All right, from where we stand right now, we're looking into the future of in-season play. So we're starting the second season, which is when region play begins. Play each of our region opponents twice. Our region opponents are Alafria, Cactus, Deer Valley, Peoria, and Westview. Okay, varsity competes for a region championship that's based on these regular season games, and they try to compete to get into the state tournament. JVA will be playing all of these region games with a winning mindset, not a mindset towards development so much, but we're looking more at trying to win region games and develop a winning program. JVB will still be playing the first round of region play with an eye toward development. Most players will play in every game. We at least try to. But then the second round of region play, we play that with an intent to win those games. And so rotations become a little tighter. You'll see that roles will become more solidified during this time. So two-way players, guys that play both JVA and JVB, or players who play varsity and JVA, their roles will become a little bit different during this time, but they will be more solidified. Rotations on all three levels will also be kind of tightened down during this time of the season. As we finish the regular season play, varsity engages in the playoffs. Only varsity plays playoffs. They can get into the playoffs if they accumulate enough power points, okay, and you can visit AZ Preps 365 to follow that. Some JV players will be asked to practice or dress with the varsity during this time. If you have a spring sport commitment that is conflicting with this honor of being asked to participate, please speak with Coach Gutwein. We will try to work with you to make sure both programs are getting what they need out of the athlete. The postseason banquet will be held usually the week or two after the last varsity game in the playoffs. It is mandatory that all players participate in the banquet. We strongly encourage parents to show up because it's the time that we celebrate all of the achievements and efforts of your children and how hard they worked to compete this season. So after the season, we enter the time that I call the not so off-season calendar. My wife says I'm not allowed to call it the off-season anymore because we definitely have things going for the players almost year-round. So from March to May, we have training and weights, dates and times per week will be announced, usually announced during the banquet. Spring sports athletes, your spring sport is a priority during this time. As we move into June, okay, we will practice weekdays in June. Those times and dates will be announced as we get closer. We will also have a varsity team camps. There will be one for sure in which they travel. Usually they go to San Diego State University. We will also have some JV tournaments if we have enough players that are committed during this time. We expect kids camp support. So when we hold a camp for elementary and middle school kids, we expect our athletes to assist in that camp. Athletes who have fall or spring sport commitments during June, we ask that you communicate with us and that you keep your mind open to sharing your time with us so that you can continue to work on your skills and show your commitment to our program. July is a time where the coaching staff typically staggers their time off. We have irregular workouts during that time that are voluntary workouts, so they're optional. But if you don't have anything going, we would encourage you to show up and get shots up in the gym and work with our coaches on your skill set. So here we go into the new school year, okay? August and September, we encourage you to enroll your student athlete in athletic performance as a class during the school day. They will get a sport-specific workout with other athletes that are part of Estrella Foothills sports programs. So it's a pretty serious class. And then they have the added benefit of not having to do weights when we break from our on-court workouts during that semester that they're enrolled. Also, we will have open gyms and weight room workouts during August and September. Those times will be announced early in the school year. If you play a fall sport like football or swim, fall sports will have to be your priority during this time. We encourage you strongly to get your physical paperwork submitted during August so it's out of the way and not an issue as we get closer to tryouts. Late September and October, we might engage in a fall league depending upon how many players we have committed to our fall workouts. If you commit to participate in a fall league with us, you must be at all the fall league workouts and commit to being at all the competitions for that fall league. All right, let's shift our focus into coaching and our focus on how we handled developing individual players versus developing a team. Okay, so when it comes to independent skills development, okay, our primary focus, it's a primary focus in the spring for us to help individual athletes develop their individual skills. So shooting skills, ball handling skills, agility and quickness. It becomes a secondary focus in the summer and the fall for the coaching staff because that's when we start to introduce team concepts, okay, and less of a priority during the season because that's when we are in the thick of our season. And so our number one goal there is to develop a team. Repetition is a player responsibility. Try to remember this mantra. Repetition is more important than practice. Practice is more important than the game. So please make sure that you are doing your own repetitions outside of our workouts and practices so that you can improve at a faster rate than maybe somebody that you're competing with. Okay. In terms of team concept and game theory development, okay, it is a very low priority in the spring because we're focused on individual development. It becomes a top priority in the summer because we do engage in Section 7 with the varsity team, which is a huge basketball event. We have team camps. We are there competing, but we're also ramping up what we think will be the system we want to run going into the regular season. And we want to see our players competing at a high level against other opponents. It is the same priority in the fall as skills development. So we keep those things pretty even in the fall. As we develop those team concepts, we also building skills, but we're starting to marry the two so that the skills development that we focus on are definitely tied to the system that we're working with. Okay, very much like the last slide. Okay, this is a summary of how we focus on development in season. Okay, varsity, they basically are playing the hand they're dealt. Okay, developing individual skills is not a top priority in a varsity season because they're trying to win games. So team concepts, what strengths we have, we want to accentuate, and we want to keep our weaknesses at bay. If you have a weakness that we need to be a strength as a varsity player from a player who's a varsity player, that player is expected to work on that weakness on their own time outside of practice. Certainly they can ask coaches to help them and tell them what they need to do to develop that. But our priority is to coaching the team and their development in season. When it comes to JVA, the first half of this season, we are concerned with skills development, but still the kind of skills development that is married to the skills that we need players to have based on our system, okay? And that is not looking at an individual player that is saying, okay, I need this player to fit into this mold. I need you to develop these skills and these repeating these skills over and over again because those skills are needed in our system. Okay, so the first half of the season for JVA until region season, they concern themselves with that, but then they concern themselves mostly with trying to put the best team on the court to win games. JVB follows that same pattern, except we take building those skills a little longer into the first half of the region season, and then the second half of region season, that's when we start coaching games with a more of an eye toward winning. Our goal was to provide you with a broad overview of the year-round boys basketball calendar at Estrella Foothills and our philosophy on player development versus team development. You can see that we are committed to growing athletes to become the best people and basketball players they can become. If you are interested in continuing your commitment to our program, we are opening up for JVB parents only a 15-minute Zoom conference with me, Coach McAvoy. We are asking that you include your player in the conference. In the conference, I'll share with you our perception of the player's strengths and areas for improvement. You may ask questions about your player's academic, social, or athletic development. Players should be present, taking notes, and preparing a plan for their own athletic development and improvement to be a part of this program. We hope that this has been helpful and informative, and we look forward to moving forward with your son in the future. Have a great evening.